My name is Dawn Richard, and this is my story.
What's your story?
Gotcha. So for the people who don't know, tell them, I'm like, what do you do? And also tell them, I'm like, where are you from?
Yeah, I'm a multi-hyphenate, and I am from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay. I didn't hear that in a long time. You said multi-hyphenate.
Mm-hmm.
So like for the people who don't actually know what that means,
Yeah.
kind of explain that to them.
So a multi-hyphenate is somebody that does multiple things. And I'm not like saying it because I want to do multiple things. I like do a lot of things. So I'm in animation, I'm in music, I'm in consulting, I'm in tech, I'm in a dancer, and also I'm in entrepreneurism. So like multi-hyphenate.
You do it all.
Do it all.
Gotcha.
Sometimes they call it the Renaissance person, the Renaissance black woman, black man. But I'm multi-hyphenate.
Gotcha. So we got to jump straight into it because you have the shirt on right now. So like, how old were you when Hurricane Katrina hit?
I had just turned 20.
20.
Yeah.
So like, bring me back to your days of like growing up in New Orleans, actually before Katrina.
Yeah, before Katrina, I was a true New Orleans girl. When I say that, I mean my dad was a musician very well known around the city. He was in a band called Chocolate Milk. They still play Groove City. Wayne still play Groove City. Wild Wayne, they still know that song. Chocolate Milk was a band signed to RCA with Alan Toussaint in the 70s. Just kind of like along with the Meters and the Ohio Players, they toured the world, but they came from here. And my dad would still sing around the city, so the Rishaw name was very popular here. Also, my grandfather, my papa, painted the coconuts for the Zulu parades. He was a part of the Zulu Club, very well renowned. Also, was friends with Fast Domino, played the keys, the whole thing. Right, my uncle Harold Fedderson sold for the Indians. So Wild Chapatulas, Wachita Nation, the Montana Brothers. Harold Fedderson was known for that sewing, and was also like heavily into the Indian culture. So rooted is what was the reality of me and my culture. So I grew up very much a New Orleans girl, and pre-Katrina, I went to St. Mary's Academy, De La Salle, UNO, like the whole thing, like St. Leo the Great, fully enveloped into the culture of New Orleans, and loved being from here.
Gotcha. So what's your greatest memory, like being a girl, like growing up in New Orleans?
Greatest memory was many. But like I said, my father, because he was so heavily rooted here, I would help him. I was his roadie. So when he would play at Pampy's, I don't know if y'all remember Pampy's, but Pampy's was a very popular restaurant. And he would play and gig there, and I would set up for him. I would set up the piano, the speakers, like I was a roadie, and I would go around the city, and like it would just be me and him, and I would learn the process of what it meant to be a musician in New Orleans. My father also had a master's degree in music from Loyola, Xavier graduate, Dillard, and Loyola. And so he also taught as a music teacher. So Tommy LaFawn was where he taught and sung with kids. So he was teaching young kids how to sing. And then in his nighttime, after he left Chocolate Milk, he was gigging around the city. So I would go to Gallia Hall, City Hall. He played for every councilman. I would go to Pampy's with him, and I would be the roadie for that experience. And those were some of my best memories, because I would meet everybody, and I would just sit after school, after all my activities, and late night, I would just watch him gig.
Gotcha. So, but you kind of didn't have no choice but to be around music.
I didn't have a choice, but I did. Okay. I kind of did, though. I kind of did. My family was heavily into academia. So music was taught to me as you could have a art or a hobby, but they did not push it on me as a job.
Gotcha.
So I never saw it as it being my career, because I was told it couldn't be the only thing I leaned on. Education was very pivotal. Like I said, my father was in Chocolate Milk, but he also had a master's degree in music.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So like bring me back to, when you graduated from high school, like, but how was your journey from there? Like, man, so like, usually when someone graduates, they go to college, or they like, man, I'm about to focus on whatever I'm gonna be.
So leaving De La Salle, graduated from De La Salle, high school, Uptown, and my parents was like, we're going to college. There was no like if, ands, or buts about it. Surprisingly, I was going into marine biology. I was also a really great softball player. Like I loved softball. I was really good at it. And so the hope was I had a full ride to Hawaii Pacific University. So I was going to be a rainbow warrior. I was going to go to Hawaii and play softball and major in marine biology. That was the plan. But my dad looked at me one night and was like, all right, if you go, the music thing you talking about, like the thing that you love, I can't get to you. So, as I can't get to you as fast as you would hope. So what do you want to do about that? So I made a last minute decision, and I had not applied to any Louisiana schools. I had to figure it out really fast because I had not had the intention of staying in New Orleans. And so the only school that was available at the time was Nichols. So I wound up going to Nichols State, majoring in marine biology and dancing in the NBA.
Okay. And so how was that experience dancing in the NBA?
We made no money. It was out of love. You did it because you loved it. And at the time it was the Hornets. We were the Hornets.
And you was a honeybee?
I was a honeybee. And I loved it. And I wanted to sing. And at the time, the city was very political about who could sing the national anthem. Like I went to the Saints and I wanted to sing, and everybody's cousins and friends would be able to sing. And like if you auditioned, most times you didn't get picked. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to finesse the system. I know how to dance. I've been dancing my whole life. So I'm going to try out for the dance team. And then I'm going to just sing the anthem whenever I want. I wound up making the team, and then I sung the anthem for the Hornets quite a few different times. And it was awesome. Got paid $50 a game, no money. And I was at Nichols, so that's Thibodeau. So I was driving. I was in marine biology, which if you don't know, if you major in marine biology, it's like pre-med. So you're taking labs. Your labs are like early, 8 a.m. classes. So I would literally be in school all day, drive back into the city for like an hour and a half, dance, do studio time in the West Bank with my dad. And then at like 1 o'clock, drive back to Thibodeau for my 8 a.m. labs. And that was my structure.
Dang. And so you was busy.
Hustle. One of the things I kind of wish I did was like have a youth of like partying. I didn't do that. My family has always been like on 1,000 when it came to the hustle. And so all I've ever known is the hustle. And I had a plan. I wanted to get out early because I wanted to do music. And there weren't a lot of examples of pop stars coming out of New Orleans. So the plan for what I wanted was to be like a girl that danced and sung. And there wasn't a lot coming from that. So I had to figure it out. So it wasn't time to be partying. I was trying to figure out like, how do I figure out how to be this like pop electro girl from New Orleans in a time where there was no, we had Wayne, No Limit, and Cash Money. Britney Spears was from Kentwood. She was white. Like that wasn't an example. And then, we had Mia and we had Teacher Moses, but these were like R&B stars. They would, let us see these were R&B girls. It wasn't what I was like looking at the time. So I was like, I got to figure out how to sell this. So my dad and I were very much in that hustle. So no partying.
Right. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
It's a hustle. Yeah.
So, and also, you just mentioned something because like I could say I'm like still to this day R&B still not big in New Orleans.
I mean, nah. And the crazy, unless you're doing bounce with it, you know what I mean? Like, but truth be told, you almost have to leave. Like Tidra, and we were blessed to have the amazing Tidra and Let Us See, who are New Orleans, New Orleanians. But for the most part, like even like Lucky Day and artists like that, they have to almost Lloyd, they had to leave, go to Atlanta and other places. Frank Ocean, another one, like had to like kind of like get out to then get received here. But again, when you say R&B, I wasn't even R&B. I was like an alternative version of that. Like I had like dancers, like 5, 6, 7 dancers behind me. I was performing at the Warehouse. I don't know if you remember that on Earhart by Glenn on Earhart. Glenn owned the club, Glenn Charles, who now owns Headquarters.
But shout out Glenn.
Yeah, I love Glenn, love the family. And he was really the first people to give me my break when it came to like performances. And I would have like dance. It was like pop. This black girl with like 8 dancers behind us doing like full on choreo. There wasn't really anything like that. And I remember Wayne saying, Dawn, I remember when you was young and you was just kind of like this, just off kilter. It was like you always was doing something different. So it was very hard to really find my presence here. So I was really hustling to try to make a name for myself, doing something that a lot of people in the city really wasn't doing.
Gotcha. So like, Hey, but when was your first time you like, well, tell me the age you were when you was like, man, it was time to actually move from New Orleans.
So I never thought there was an age where I felt I had to move. I
Okay.
was gonna do it here. I was gonna do it here. That was the plan. Peaches was giving, every artist sold their record at Peaches. Shout out to Peaches. And Anthony Hamilton had come in to town at UNO Lakefront Arena, and they were doing a ladies' night show. And he gave me my first shot when I was 18 and was like, you want to open up for us? I'll never forget that. Shout out to Anthony. And we performed and we got a standing ovation. It was nothing but women in there. Super hard audience, right? They were not here for no girl in like a camouflage bra top with like baggy camouflage pants and like these flat. It was very much a different vibe from Anthony. And they gave me so much love. And that was when I knew, oh no, I want to do this. Like I'm going to do this. And I was going to do it here in New Orleans. And it wasn't until I was dancing in the NBA and the girls said on the team, there's this show called Making a Band that we watching, and Dawn, like, you sing, you dance, like, you should try out. And I was looking at them like, nobody from New Orleans is ever on television.
And I was just thinking that.
Because we ain't had nobody was, unless again, you were a rapper like Wayne and them, like, there was no, you weren't on television. Like, that wasn't happening, especially from no Night Ward girl, like, or the East. Like, that wasn't happening. But I ain't want to not take a risk. So I took it. And I had already tried out for American Idol. This was the season of Fantasia. And I went to Atlanta. And they told me that at the time, which is ironic, that my voice was too different. But then they would go on to pick Fantasia, which it just tells you when it's your time, it's your time. So I was kind of like, do I try out for another show when my tone and who I am is just so different? But I took a risk. I was making, again, $50 a game. So I had like $200 to my name. Nobody was even coming to New Orleans, so I had to go to Orlando because it was either Atlanta or Orlando because the auditions wasn't even passing its way. Stayed in a Roach Motel, like stayed in downtown Orlando, and like a mile away from the Paris Hilton Club that they tried out. I was still at this time, I transferred. I was a junior in college, and I transferred from Nico State to UNO to be closer to the city because I couldn't keep driving the way I was. And UNO didn't have a marine biology program, so I had to minor in marine science and then major in marketing, had to start all over. And in the process of my collegiate journey, I went and tried out in Orlando. I think they said 5,000 girls auditioned and they picked 3. And I was one of the 3.
And that's amazing.
And that was the beginning. So I never left New Orleans. I would have never have left New Orleans.
Right.
That was the option I was given. And that would then begin the journey of my career.
Gotcha. And you also mentioned, that show with Fantasia American Idol, but you also said someone from here that actually had to leave, but like he tried out. His name was David Brown.
Yeah.
Lucky Day. I know him well.
Lucky Day. Yeah.
And it shows you how much you gotta like actually doing like the the music world.
Right. Yeah. Like I did all the stuff here, but it was just, again, to try to be known doing something different was difficult. And it was ironic because dance had been, people don't know this. I don't, maybe they do, but dance was I sang my whole life, but dance was my conduit. My mom owned a dancing school on John Quill by Capto School. And she started in her garage, but dance was my saving grace. And it continued to save me throughout my career, like the honeybees. And then cut to, I get in a line in Orlando and they switched it up. When we got in a line, they said, you're not going to learn a song first. You're going to learn an 8 count first. So most of the girls that could sing couldn't dance. And so my first person I met was Lorianne. And that 8 count was nothing because I had been, that muscle was practiced because I was dancing in the NBA. And so that saved me. And then I went to go sing and my voice was so unique. Andre Harrell was like, I have never heard a voice like yours. And that saved me again, being unique, being from New Orleans. And I would wind up becoming a part of Making a Band.
Gotcha. So, we're going to fast forward to Making a Band and say, what happened when Hurricane Katrina hit though for you?
Crazy. Again, stories are crazy, my whole journey. So people think that I was on the show and that I wasn't a part of Katrina, but that is not the truth. He picked 12 girls and I say he is Puff. He picked 12 girls, and he said, if y'all really want it, I'm gonna send y'all home. And those who really like stay focused and come back better than they left, we'll see. So we had no idea when we were getting called back. He threw a doozy at us, and we all went home. Not with any money, not with anything. We had basically for months stopped our lives. I was taking online courses because, again, I wasn't in school. I had left school, still in school, and went home in August. I was home maybe 2 weeks. And then on August 29th, Katrina hit. And I lost everything in the matter of a second. And we packed for 3 days, and I never saw my home again. We were homeless. We lived in a car. I lost my grandfather. And at that moment, I wasn't even worried about a television show. I didn't know what I was going to wear, what house I was going to live in. We had no birth certificates. We had no driver's license. We just lost our family. When I say in New Orleans, everyone lived within a 5-minute radius. My grandmother, aunt, grandfather, everybody, which means when one person lost everything, everybody. So there was no one to call. My brother was the only living relative that wasn't in New Orleans because he was in college at Johns Hopkins University, St. Aug graduate. And he had no idea how to get in touch with us. So in a blink of an eye, we left on Monday in the counterflow as it was storming. Never had a Thanksgiving together again after that. Never was a family unit the way we were after that. And had a lot of loss. And it was the wildest experience because on one hand, I was so excited about this journey, and then I didn't even care about this journey over here because I watched my mom and dad not know what to do. And keep in mind, I'm 19. I had just turned 20 because August 5th is my birthday. So like I was just in my 20s, and I was watching my parents who had built everything like from the ground up, not know what to do. And I mean, if you know in your 20s, I didn't even really have my stuff together. I didn't have a house. I was literally living in a dorm. And yeah, that was the wildest experience because I had no idea what I was going to do.
I'm like, were you actually, it was still on, like TV around the time, everybody left?
No, I was sleeping on the floor. I was in a car. I was in a
No, I
car.
was was the show airing?
So no,
Okay.
show had not aired just yet. I think it was starting to air, or maybe it was about to air.
Okay.
Because he hadn't picked the 5 yet.
All right.
It was 12 of us. And then lo and behold, my brother finally calls after a month, like almost a month. And we just drive to Baltimore because we don't have nothing.
But where have you drove from? Like man,
we
y'all left to go.
First we went to Dallas, sold out, no hotels. Then we went to Mississippi, the whole other, Mississippi.
Oh, yeah, I went to Jackson. It was bad.
Bad, crazy. Gave us a red ticket. Like they treated us like refugees. A red ticket from Red Cross. You get a ticket, you go to a tent. They give you like a brown paper bag of like prison food almost, right? Like an apple, like a sandwich.
Yeah, they try to give me army food. I'm like, I don't want that.
Army food, like a brown bag, and then they give you. Well, we went. The clothes were sold out, so I was given baby clothes, like the baby Transformer drawers, like the little kids, like boys get, like briefs.
They get it to you, and you was. Like you almost 20 years old.
Grown
you 20
woman,
years old. That's
grown
crazy.
Woman. I was just 20. I was so shook that we were being treated like we were like being treated this way, and then they gave you that card. You know that card you get? Here's $1,000 for the card. Good luck.
Yeah, I was only 18, so my mom I still was like getting out of high school. Like I always tell people, like 2005 was the best year for me, but I didn't realize because I was still a kid.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff you had, like people was going through for
Katrina. Like for me, it was like I couldn't even present adulthood. It was like, and then my parents who were like, all right, go out and do the things. And it was jarring for me because, mind you, when we went on the show, they took away our phones. They took away all the things. So we had no access to that. So I had just gotten home, just gotten phones, just gotten back into my life.
And that happened 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
So I'm actually, this is what happened once the city opened back up? Did y'all come back?
So when people found out on the show that I was homeless, they were sending boxes of and I'm grateful. I appreciate the love, but could you imagine people sending you like boxes of canned goods and like you're home because you're homeless, like noodle, like packages of like ramen. You'll never understand embarrassment. And I know that people mean well, but like I never even had this conversation. This is my first time saying this out loud because they don't deal with mental health. They don't deal with like my family worked hard. Like we were okay. And then we weren't. And then we were being treated like homeless people. Like we're praying for you. Here's thrift clothes, hand-me-down clothes. So finally, we get a call back like, yeah, we're ready for y'all to come back on the show. And I'm looking at my mom and dad like, what clothes am I going? Like, and should I even go? And my mom and dad were like, no, you got this opportunity. Don't, because I felt obligated to be with them, to help them, And mind you, what was my brother going to give us? He was in college. He had nothing. He had a 1-bedroom. So we were sleeping on the floor in Baltimore. Like, what were we going to do? Like, what was he going to do? And my family was like, please, like, this will be some light in the midst of dark. So I went back onto the show with hand-me-downs and back into the most stressful situation because you're in a competition and nobody cares about whether you look good. Like, they want you to look good. Nobody cares about your problems. You're in a competition with other people. And now I'm holding the weight of NOLA because I want to make sure I represent my city. I'm holding the weight of a city that is traumatized and hurt. I'm holding the weight of a family that has no money, has lost everything. And I got to look my best, compete, and strategize because we're still 12 girls in and they're only picking 5.
Right. I couldn't imagine just going back to a competition after not having nothing. And like, everybody did the like producers and all that. Everybody knew where you was coming from?
Everybody knew. Everybody knew because it was national. It was on the news. Everyone knew I was from New Orleans. Everyone knew the realities. Mm-hmm. Right. I don't think they knew to what extent, but they knew it was bad because they were sending me care packages. Like, they were sending me those things.
And it's kind of like very, insulting. Like,
and people will never understand that felt insulting because they were, and mind you, I appreciate it. They were genuine at heart. But as a Black person who has my parents, like, who scrounged and scraped to get what they want and to have 2 children go to private school, which is not cheap.
But I'm paying for St. Aug right now. I know it's not cheap.
You get what I'm saying? And 2 parents who teach in the public school system, and because they knew how the public school system, not to say that it isn't great here, because we have some amazing public schools, but my parents fought hard to put their children through a certain thing. Yeah, it was insulting. It was hurting, and it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And I don't know how to describe that for people to understand it unless
the world don't really understand it because they like,
you gotta live it. You gotta live it.
But I think they looked at us as a whole like we didn't have anything already. So like they felt like they could just give us anything.
Right, like like one of them pats on the head. You know what I mean? Like, nah, homie, we were out here getting it. My parents hustled. And so it was very embarrassing for them to be that. Right. And to then go on a show, and we did Miss Jones, and this is documented on the television show. I walked in and they was about to rip me open. The first thing Miss Jones said was, what you wearing? You know what I mean? They was about to go at it. And before I let her even go, I was like, sis, nah. I went through Katrina. So don't even, like, you could hear it in my voice. I didn't even have the energy to give whatever was going on. And so my whole experience after, when I got on that show, was a fight for my life. So I didn't really, the whole making the band experience was I didn't have time to be trying to look the way people wanted me to look. My main goal was, I got to get it. I got to get it. And it was bigger than a show to me. It was bigger than, I hope you like me. It was bigger than, let me show out. It was, there is no. There is no not getting this. And so there was a lot of stress and a lot of other things it was already difficult with the way they treated us. But there was no option for me to not. I had to get it from my
But you
family.
gotta win.
It was bigger. It was bigger than that. And I think if people watch back and like think about it, it was heavier for me. It was heavier.
Right. And I didn't even think about all the things you was going through. Because, like a person like me just looking at it, I'm thinking that you never came back to New Orleans. I'm thinking you still in New York, or, you doing like, so people, everybody know your story.
I never would have left New Orleans. I would have been in Danity, Kane. And then when I was done with work, I would have came home.
You love New Orleans.
Yeah. Like my father loved New Orleans. My father did it. My mother did it. They were educated family. My mom, dad went all the way through. I'm talking Xavier. I'm talking Dillard, Loyola. When they got their masters, they didn't go other places. My family comes from educators. They chose this city. My dad didn't say my dad was part of a massive group. And then he said, I'm going to live here. Right. He didn't go to LA after Allen Toussaint. He came home. So for me, I was going to go get it.
You sold New Orleans.
I was going to get it, do my thing in Danity, Kane, and then love y'all. And when the ladies went home, my home was going to be here.
And crazy part is I just had a conversation about this. Like, like all these documentaries for Katrina and everything. And I'm pretty sure like the world probably like, hey, but why did them people go back knowing we still have the same risk of like New Orleans flooding again and everything? It's a different type of effect.
But why do people go to LA if you know there's going to be an earthquake? Why do people go and live?
And wildfire too.
Yeah, why are you going to go to New York if you know at any moment there might be a bomb or someone else to like have a threat? Why live in DC if you know all the politics that it's going to be something no matter where you go. Especially now with climate change, especially now with the way things, you're getting floods in places you ain't never had. Asheville, North Carolina, in the middle of
New York subways.
Come on. So that question could be asked to anyone. For me, I love my city. I have always loved my city, even with its hardships. It's what I love what I cut my sauce. I love whatever I am, the difference, the reason I made the things I made, the reason why I was in making a band, the reason why I was a part of those groups was because of the flavor I had. And that flavor was because it's just something about us. It's something different. And I love that about us. And I've cherished that. I had a beautiful life here. I have a beautiful community of people I grew up around. I loved my neighborhood. My best friend 10 toes down till this day, 20, 30 years later, my best friend, we grew up down the street from each other.
Don't give her a shout out.
Sanja, I love you. Sanja Hailey, I love you. And so like those are my memories. Those are the things that make me me. And so like it wasn't I admitted as an artist and I left. I made it as an artist when my city was struggling. And so my hope was that every step I made was going to be for the city. And every choice I made musically, every move I made always gave love to the city.
Gotcha. So this is my question. Like, what happened after the cameras went off? Like what happened after, Danity Kane split and everything? Like what happened with you? Like, did you like venture off to like, some like like being one, I'm like, dance teacher or something like that?
No, I didn't venture off. I stayed. So once Danity Kane our group was dismantled.
Gotcha.
We didn't want to leave. People were fired on national television. That's the truth of it. But in that, I wrote. I wasn't let go from the label. I was still on the label. I was shelved. There was no job, no money, no nothing. So we all left Danity Kane struggling. And I had to figure it out. And again, the New Orleans in me, the hustler in me, started writing for artists and submitting it, being like, yo, I'm here. And I never would let it go. I was submitting constantly with the hope that I could get off the label, with the hope that I wouldn't be shelved, because I had heard stories of people being shelved and never like being let go from their contracts. I didn't know what was going to happen with my life. And at that point, my mom and dad wanted to go back to New Orleans. I wanted to go back to New Orleans. And so in a few months into that, I got asked to work on a project. That project will become Diddy Dirty Money.
Gotcha. And the crazy part is I want to ask you, as soon as you say, songwriting, like this is a question I love to ask people, like, because like a lot of people, really don't understand, like, how do songwriters actually get paid? Because like it's very hard.
You don't get paid as a songwriter. You got to write and be in the studio thousands and thousands of hours with multiple different people, some of which is like speed dating, meaning you ain't never met the producer, y'all ain't never had no synergy, and you walk in and you're expected to make a smash, right? Which some people, amazing. 9 times out of 10, no, you got to cultivate that. So you're spending hours and hours meeting. Just when you get a synergy with another producer, you go into another production, then you go into a song, and none of this gets you paid. None of this. This is all with the hope that the artist takes the song, and then after that you do splits, and then you get paid. And then when your splits come in your royalties, most times if you're lucky, they keep the formatting as it is. But sometimes they add 95 other people to the record, and before you know it, your percentage is 10 to 15, which means you're getting this much of the pie. Hopefully that song gets into Billboard 100, and then you can see money. So get into the hustle of that. So like the amount of time that you put in for the hope of money is real. That's this game.
And like, I heard, actually from one like female songwriter, like, but some of the female, I'm like, singers used to be in like competition with the, songwriter, like, and they don't want you to like outshine them, like on the demo or certain
not
things like that.
Not even outshine, you have to reference, like, you're not here to be an artist. You're here to cultivate for somebody else, right? And then also too, there is there's competition within songwriters, right? Because there's cliques and like people that choose to go this place. So there is so much that goes into it with no guarantees. That there was just I really applaud a lot of the artists who are speaking up about what songwriters deserve, the percentages that they make, how hard it is to get paid, and that conversation needs to continue to be had. Now I'll put that times 11, because not only was I a songwriter, but I was a songwriter held within a label. I repeat, I was a songwriter, but not a free one. Not a one that could just go out and, part of a publishing company that would, no, I was a songwriter that was held within the grounds of my own. I was also
couldn't do what you wanted
so
to do.
I couldn't even do what I wanted to do. I was limited to whomever the label was telling me I should write for, which was like 1 or 2 people.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna ask you this question now. Like, are you still held in right now?
What do you mean?
Like, far as like in when I'm like contract with a label.
No, I'm an independent artist. I've been an independent artist for 15 years.
Gotcha, got it.
More than 15.
I just had to ask for the people. Make sure you're not held no more.
If you've been following, and if you haven't, I was indie when it wasn't cool to be indie. I took that risk once again, and it was very beneficial for me, and I was able to create a great life for myself as an independent artist.
Gotcha. So bring me back to that day that you actually became independent.
Yeah. Yeah. It is not an easy thing to try to ask for your freedom. And it wasn't easy. And again, being from New Orleans, the hustler in me, the God that I know, the prayer, when you know bottom, you get to a place where you, for your family, for your safety, for your mental safety, for your hope, you pray that you can just get back to the place you felt when you first started this thing. And that's what I fought for, is to get back to the Night War girl. And I fought for that. And I can't get into details of like what I had to sacrifice to get that. But my journey has been difficult. And I'm grateful for God, and I'm grateful for the New Orleans mentality in me to fight for some piece of independence. And that's what I got.
Gotcha. And I want to right now give your flowers for everything you've been through.
Thank
to
you.
Even still be here and be mentally sane to like tell your journey.
Well, you know, therapy is real. And again, if you ask why I come home, it's because the mother and father that I have, the family that I have, and that thing that I have from being from here, y'all, that's real. I wouldn't have made it. That thing, that skin we got, like that we will not bow down, that that hope, that prayer in us, it's real. And so, like, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Gotcha. Well, you know, about to close it out with this because I know you got somewhere to go.
Yeah, of course.
What do you enjoy most about, you know, with your journey, and like what do you actually dislike about it?
I thank God every day for the place I'm at right now. What I love the most is that I get to do what I love. And I've never stopped doing that. The art has always been what I've loved. I've worked hard to do what I love. And that's been the thing that I stayed true to. Um, I didn't love and I don't love that I had to live in fear to do it. And I wish for no artist and no person to ever feel like confined or stifled into the world that they're in. You know, like I pray that every artist, and it's like talking about songwriting, talking about like just even being an independent artist and the importance of New Orleans, because I think New Orleans has a huge independent community of artists fighting for equity, fighting for ownership, fighting for their craft and their place in this thing. Every artist deserves to have the freedom to be exactly who they are and not live in fear to be that and not be stifled in that. And so I hope and pray that no person, no artist, creative, or even human has to endure a fear of being who they are and moving the way they want to move within the space that they love, especially when it's in goodness, especially when it is very much in the spirit of love. And that is the city that we are. That is the people that we are. And I think that is when we thrive the most, when we get to be the light that we are. So yeah, that's how I see it.
Gotcha. And you know, actually, before we leave, I want to give a big shout out to Successful 5 because I see with
I
this,
love you,
with this fire
Seth!
jersey on right now.
Oh yeah, so shout out to Katrina 20. And Katrina, the Katrina commemoration is happening. We always every year give remembrance and love to those who have lost. In Katrina, I am one of those people. We fight with the amazing organization Hip Hop Caucus. And as an artist consultant, I help artists use their platforms to speak on advocacy because we lived it. And so, like, love to Seth for giving us the opportunity to tell our stories and to wear this thing with sauce. So I love you, Seth.
Gotcha. And also tell the people, I'm like, what's next for you?
I have an album coming out next year.
But make sure you send that to me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna write an article
course,
for you.
Of course. And then I have an animation that is built around New Orleans. It's called Little Stories, Big Echoes. And this is the story of what I went through in Katrina as a child. It's centered around young heroes, and it's specifically for young kids ages 2 to 12. And Tank from Tank and the Banger, shout out to Tank, is the narrator, and PJ Morton is the score. He scored the project.
I would shout out both of them.
Yeah, so make sure you go to my Kickstarter, and if you want to give love and pour into us, we would really appreciate it, because that animation will turn into 6 animated episodes that tell the story of how people go through natural disasters, young kids, young women, young girls, and how they become the heroes of their story. So really, really cool. And the animation is all people of color, Black people. So make sure you pour into us, and I'll give the link to you. So make sure you shout us out and follow us. So yeah, I've got a lot of cool things coming.
Gotcha. And also, last but not least, tell the world, what can they find you on social media and everywhere else?
Yeah, my name is Dawn Richard. Of course, if you're from New Orleans, you know it's not Richards. It's not
yeah, I thought it was Richards at first.
Nah, I'm from here. So it's DAWNRICHARD. And you can get that all across the board on all social media platforms. Follow me. Come see me. See all the work that I'm doing. I'm also pouring into artists. I'm doing a lot of things with independent artists. So make sure you hit me up because it's not just about a me thing, it's about a us thing.
What's your story?